It is finally officially game week. Tim Prister, Tim O'Malley, John Brice. We just met with Marcus Freeman talking about the selection of captains and a whole bunch of depth chart decisions made here. But I want to start with exactly what Marcus Freeman started with, and that is he called it the healthiest preseason camp he's been around in 15 years, despite the fact that Notre Dame had 15% more practice time. He went in depth on that. Just one concussion. Injuries, I think, in general, down 30%. And you know, the key with the more practice time, that's really interesting and a real testament to Loren Lando.
Yeah, and it's good news. I asked Mitchell Evans has taken contact. I was worried that Mitchell Evans' first contact exactly now, 10 months removed from ACL surgery, would be at Kyle Field. That's not the case. Benjamin Morrison requested contact. And, of course, we still have question marks about how much Howard Cross can play, but if it's this healthy of a camp, it's good news. I mean, the issue I think with Howard Cross is, of course, his backup is one of the guys hurt, Gabriel Rubio. That has always been something I've pointed to. But it's a good point by Freeman that, look, you can practice that hard and get through it. That's huge for August camp because every team has attrition. We just only cover one team.
And noteworthy, I think that Marcus told us it was intentional to have 15% more practices. He said we cannot sacrifice practice. We did not sacrifice practice. So again, noteworthy. Chance Tucker lost for the season, confirmed today. But he and Charles Jaga saw the true camp casualties from an injury standpoint. Marcus Freeman really pleased in talking about it, both being Loren Lando, the new investment, unprecedented levels of investment into sports science, sports nutrition, the training table, all of these things that Notre Dame continues to find ways to enhance even further as it moves forward. Marcus Freeman believes paid immense dividends over the course of this camp.
We'll get deeper into the depth chart, but just to confirm, Sam Pendleton will be the starting left guard, and Anthony Knapp, no surprise with Knapp especially, is the starting left tackle. We have been speculating throughout camp that Adon Schuler was a guy that was really pressing for the starting spot. Rod Hurd, I thought it was interesting. I don't know that we knew that he was capable of being a corner in addition to being a nickel and a safety, but Marcus Freeman mentioned that. So Hurd is going to provide really good depth at those three positions, but Adon Schuler has been impressing since the spring. No shock at all that he's in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think we said last week on the pod, maybe Thursday, that we felt like probably Adon Schuler defensively, Jeremiah Love offensively had the two singular camps. Now, we obviously can throw Anthony Knapp into that, but Schuler's a guy that I think we were all a little guilty of underrating a little bit and are counting down the Irish. But we all also exited spring camp really curious about what that next step was for him, because we did see the flashes in spring, and now he's obviously put them together consistently enough to be in position to start Saturday night at College Station.
Drake Bowen starting middle linebacker. I don't think we thought an OR was coming for Kingston Viliamu-Asa as a true freshman. He is listed at two positions. He's also at an OR with Jaden Osbury at the will behind Jack Kaiser, Jalen Sneed and Jaden Osbury. At the Rovers, they've acknowledged a nickel exists. There's a nickel on the depth chart, everybody. Jordan Clark is, of course, there. And I think it's a good point you bring up about Hurd. That does kind of replace the versatility of Clarence Lewis. He'll be an upgrade of Lewis probably at nickel, an upgrade at safety, probably not an upgrade at corner because he's not a natural corner, but they might have an upgrade at corner in Leonard Moore. And that's the depth that Marcus Freeman was talking about. So not a lot of major surprises on there. I don't know if this matters or not, because everything is alphabetical once you look at it when there's an or involved. It is Cooper Flanagan or Eli Raridon. That was the one that made me take a second look. But then when you look at everything, it's Faison Mitchell, it's Greathouse Harrison, it's Collins Thomas. There's a lot of ors with alphabeticals when it's a true or.
Before we had the opportunity to ask about Howard Cross not being picked as a captain, Marcus Freeman addressed it right from the outset. He said there were 16 players that received at least one vote, but I thought the interesting thing, in addition to Riley Leonard and Riley Mills and Jack Kaiser and Morrison and Watts as captains, he said that the next six players receiving votes, all in double digits, were offensive players. Now we're speculating as to which ones, those might be. I think Ashton Craig definitely. Jaden Thomas we thought had an outside shot of being named a captain. Certainly Mitchell Evans did. Pat Coogan, we've been told, is the leader of the team. That's four. I don't know exactly who the sixth would be.
Could be Bo Collins or Chris Mitchell, but JB made a point as well.
Wouldn't surprise me if it was Steve Angeli. I mean, the guy has been a consummate teammate, stayed loyal, fights for his opportunity, clearly entrenched as the unquestioned number 2 quarterback for Notre Dame. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Angeli. People really respond to him, resonate with him.
I've been saying all along that the weather in South Bend, it was humid real briefly, I think, during camp, and then it got really unseasonably cool. We have the heat and humidity this week, and I've been saying, that's not going to help because they're not in full-scale contact now. Marcus Freeman said it could help. They're going to take full advantage of it. I think it's going to be, did he say tomorrow is going to be even...
Tomorrow and Wednesday, yeah.
Warmer and more humid than today. So, I guess you can... I guess you can take advantage of that a little bit.
And Notre Dame's in the afternoon portion of its camp,
Right.
The afternoon transition to practices in the afternoon when it is hotter. I know the feels-like temperature right now here after lunch is in the mid-90s. Tomorrow, the feels-like temperature projected to be triple digits. You probably would have liked to have had 2 weeks of it, but you get a little dose of it before you head down there this weekend.
And we expected once again for Marcus Freeman to be asked about the environment at Texas A&M and what you can do to combat it. Periodically throughout practice, they pipe in the, music and crowd noise and some of the chants that Texas A&M does.
Right.
But ultimately, it comes down to, of course, Notre Dame needs to execute in order to take the crowd out of the game.
I thought it was interesting. He said we got the music they play, which was interesting, and the chants they do. There's research involved there. They're going to show them video of what it's like to be on that field. I answered some questions today for Gig'em 24/7, Gig'em Aggies 24/7. I go back to what Brian Kelly said, and Marcus Freeman has echoed. You deal with the crowd noise preparing, and Brian Kelly said he made a mistake for that Georgia game when they had all those false starts and offsides. Remember, 4 of those dudes started in the NFL 2 years later on that line. All those offsides, penalties, and false starts. He said they changed their plan on Wednesday. I assume Marcus Freeman's plan, whatever Mike Denbrock, Marcus Freeman, and Gino Guidugli and Joe Rudolph came up with, started on August 1st and is the same plan now, or they scrapped it early, because you can't go from silent count to cadence to signals. You just got to go with one thing and practice it the whole time.
Well, and at that Georgia game, there was no in-helmet communication. Now we know that there is in-helmet communication, and Marcus Freeman revealing to us today that Notre Dame has practiced periods where it's not had the helmet to be able to communicate, to simulate maybe the headset receiver goes out, or maybe it is so loud you can't communicate with the sidelines. Notre Dame has done a lot of work this preseason camp with silent count, with hand signals.
And Tim, Georgia was week 4. This is week 1. You can practice all of August with what you're planning for week 1.
We've got a whole bunch to talk about during the Irish Illustrated Insider. One more point from each of you guys. JB, what else?
I just think for me, Marcus Freeman talking about the depth of this team, and we can drive down on the sports science and the nutrition and the strength program from Lauren Lando as being key for this summer preseason camp, being the healthiest per Marcus Freeman in 12 to 15 years for Notre Dame. I think it's still significant that the floor of this roster has been elevated so much since Marcus Freeman's arrival, first as defensive coordinator, then taking over as head coach. I think a better depth of roster gives you a chance to mitigate some of those injuries, because you don't have bad players going against really good players much.
There's no doubt that the depth of this program right now is, I don't know if you say all-time high, but certainly the highest it's been in many, many recent years.
It's nice to be able to take a coach at his gospel, at his word once in a while, and I know you can't do that with anybody when there's injuries involved, but when Marcus Freeman said, at some point he was asked about Tosh Baker and why Anthony Knapp caught him. He said, because of practice. Tosh Baker ascended. Anthony Knapp caught him over the next 10 practices. Practice is the most important thing. He's been saying that for 3 years. When we asked why Jalen Snead doesn't get in there as a freshman, it's because of practice. Why wasn't Tobias Merriweather getting in there? It's because of practice. And Tosh Baker's not in there because of practice. It's nice to see a younger player can ascend in a competition in practice as well.
It was interesting to hear Marcus Freeman talk about how much confidence they have in Anthony Knapp.
Yeah.
And that has been the impression all along. So that's a good sign. This has been Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis, and we'll be gathering for Irish Illustrated's Insider coming up.